Okay, everybody, let's go ahead and take a look at trig identities. Again, this is the third day on trig identities. They just take practice. So trig, actually, hold on. It's actually simplifying trig expressions. Simplifying trig expressions. All right, so there's only two, and they have their own individual tricks. So if I take a look at the first example, there's only really one identity that I can find on my sheet. I know that sine squared is the same thing as a 1 minus a cosine squared theta. Now you might say, oh wait a minute, that could help. I have to be careful how I cancel. You have to be careful how you cancel. For example, 1 minus x squared can be factored into a 1 plus x, 1 minus x. So think about this in terms of factoring 1 minus cosine squared of theta. And you can see probably where I'm going with this. So if I factor 1 minus cosine squared, I could factor that into a 1 plus a cosine theta and a 1 minus a cosine theta. And that is over this 1 plus cosine of theta. And then you can see how all of that will cancel all of that, and you're left with just a 1 minus a cosine of theta. And that's about all you can do with that. It simplifies down to that, okay? It's still simpler. Okay, ready to take a look at the next problem? So the next one's an identity, a proof. So you want to show somehow that this entire side is equal to this side. So what I'm going to do is take a look at some identities, okay? 1 plus tangent squared is equal to, I think it is a secant squared. So I'm going to change this into a secant squared. I should have my identity sheets with me, but give me a second. Let me grab it. All right, where's my identities? Well, darn it, I lent my identities out to a student and I don't have them. Okay, I'm pretty sure this is a secant squared theta cotangent theta over a tangent theta equals a cosecant squared theta. Okay? Oh, I found it. Hold on. Good. I do have it. Hold on. 1 plus tangent squared. It's secant. I do have it. Okay, so then from here, and I'll use colors to help you see it, I can change first cotangent into cosine over sine. I'll use colors, it's going to be much easier. And I can change secant squared into a 1 over cosine squared. Over cosine squared theta. Okay, and then all over tangent, which I'm going to rewrite tangent then as a sine over cosine. So I'll do that. So all over a sine theta over a cosine theta. Now it looks worse, but I can get a little bit of simplification. So first of all, I notice that I can cancel for sure a cosine with a cosine. And then I'm going to invert and multiply. So I'm going to have this, I've got a fraction, so I'm going to flip this fraction. And I'm going to rewrite this I'm going to have a 1 over a sine theta and a cosine, one of them, cosine theta. And then I'm going to flip this one, cosine theta over a sine theta, okay? All right, now what do we got? Well, cosines will cancel, right? And then what am I left with? A 1 over a sine times a sine, or 1 over a sine squared theta is equal to a cosecant squared theta. Well, 1 over sine is cosecant, so I can change this to cosecant squared theta is equal to cosecant squared theta. And there I have proved my identity because this side is exactly the same thing as this side, so I have done a proof. Okay, that's all I have. The homework is 13 to 24, and we'll get